It's your girl, the grown woman gamer, and today I'm coming at you to talk about Jeanie Buss's tweet. Jeanie Buss posted, "I miss KB, Kobe Bryant. He would understand and explain everything that I'm not allowed to. Honestly, he was the greatest Laker ever. He understood team over self, meaning your rewards would come if you value team goals over your own. Then everything would fall into place." And then she ended it by saying, "All can reply." This tweet left social media in a frenzy for a few reasons. All of the LeBron James clout pundits hopped on it to take it as a slight against LeBron James. Some people took it as a slight against Russell Westbrook, and most of us took her statement about Kobe Bryant being the greatest Laker ever as well-deserved respect and nostalgia. If you followed Lakers basketball, it's hard to truly say that Kobe Bryant was better than Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but even Magic Johnson stated on ESPN that Kobe Bryant was better than him after Kobe passed away. But this wasn't the first time he said that. When Kobe had his farewell game, Magic came and gave a speech where he identified Kobe Bryant as the greatest Laker ever. And I'm all for it. Kobe Bryant was by far my absolute favorite basketball player, and I grew up watching him, but I've watched enough basketball that came before my time to know what Magic Johnson means to the game of basketball, and what he achieved was so much bigger than basketball. And honestly, he was just so good so soon in the league that you have to give him his due respect. But it is a testament to how much people love and respect Kobe that even Magic refers to Kobe as the greatest Laker of all time. And for anyone that wants to identify LeBron James as the greatest Laker of all time because they believe that LeBron is a better player than Kobe was, that's a conversation that shouldn't even get started, because LeBron James will never mean to LA what Kobe meant to LA, and he knows that, respects that, understands that, and accepts that. I do not think for 2 seconds that LeBron is out to be a stand-in for Kobe Bryant as far as his impact and what he means to the purple and gold. It's just never going to be like that. LeBron James is that for Cleveland. While hopefully he can achieve more success as a Laker, there is absolutely no way that a player who comes to the Lakers at the point in his career that LeBron James is at can mean to the Lakers what a player who came at 19 and spent every year of his almost 20-year career wearing that same jersey. So it is what it is, and I don't think it's any slight whatsoever to LeBron. But that's not what this video is about. This video is going to talk about what this tweet means for the Lakers now, and what Jeanie Buss might have been trying to communicate, and if we should even take the tweet seriously or if we should just take it at face value. Maybe it's because of the timing with all of these trade talks and trade rumors around Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook, but a lot of us were kind of left wondering whether or not Jeanie Buss said this because she's frustrated and torn about what next steps to take regarding her team, the Los Angeles Lakers. After last year's, which was absolutely abysmal, most Laker fans like myself are left wondering what's going to happen with the Lakers. What's going to happen as far as the end of LeBron James' prime, even though his prime has lasted now for going on 20 years, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the man working out in the gym, but he looks great, and it looks like it's going to be another show-stopping year, and perhaps this is the year that he takes the scoring title from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which will be a crowning moment for sure, regardless of how well or how poorly the Lakers do. And as a side note, it's my personal opinion that there's absolutely nothing at all that LeBron James needs to do at this point in his career to prove himself. It's a challenge at this point. He can retire today and he'll be celebrated as one of the most impactful basketball players in the NBA, one of the most impactful basketball players in NBA history, and one of the most impactful athletes in modern history. And as far as I'm personally concerned, LeBron James, Tom Brady, and Serena Williams occupy a special place in the pantheon of tremendous athletes who demonstrated longevity and who made an indelible mark on their sport that will last for generations. And that's the end of my speech about how great LeBron James is. Let's get back on track. With all that said, LeBron James is still an active player in the NBA, and people still have expectations for him, high expectations. And so any team that he's on, especially given how successful his first 15 years in the league were, people will expect that the Lakers will at the very least be a playoff contender. Missing the playoffs last year and then the first year that he had with the Lakers, and I know they won the bubble championship, but all in all, the Lakers chapter in LeBron James' career has been rocky to say the least. And then when you compound that with just the general complexity of building a team around a 19-year veteran like LeBron James, coupled with the expectations that everyone has, and then you add Russell Westbrook to the situation, I can only imagine the sleepless nights that Jeanie Buss has had trying to figure out what would be the best thing to do in order to continue the legacy of excellence that most people expect from the Lakers franchise. My personal opinion is that Jeanie Buss's tweet is more of an indictment of the entire system in the NBA and how the business of basketball has dwarfed the game of basketball and the love of basketball. And honestly, this is an inevitable consequence of empowering players to capitalize more off of their own likeness and their own name, as much as, if not more than, the NBA itself. The fact that the players are earning these large incomes and making these huge brand deals and thinking about how their personal legacy can bolster their family's generational wealth is not inherently a bad thing. It is a good thing. Because long after basketball is no longer a part of their daily reality, they have to recreate themselves, reinvent themselves, and continue to support their families for 50 years in some cases. So how you leverage your platform when you are popular and your name is on the tip of everyone's tongue is extremely important for having the type of financial legacy that we see with players like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and even LeBron James, who recently reached billionaire status. I get it fully, and I don't personally question that aspect of the game, but there are these moments when you could take one for the team if you still have a love for the game that transcends the money and that ties to a strong desire to be part of a winning team. So there are a few things that Jeanie Buss could be pointing to in her tweet. I've already mentioned the system of basketball and just the way the NBA is going as far as the opportunity to make a large amount of money that's often tied to saddling a team with a contract that makes it challenging for that team to go out and get the players that they need to help you to win. The second thing that she could be referring to is the situation with Russell Westbrook, especially when you compare how he handled his contract to how James Harden handled his situation. James Harden decided to opt out of his $47 million contract so that they could get an additional player that could potentially help them to be in a better position to win in the postseason this coming year. Russell Westbrook, on the other hand, clearly doesn't have the same motivation because in spite of having a front row seat to the absolute clown show of a season that he had last year, he opted into this huge contract which ties Jeanie Buss's hands and makes it almost impossible for her to get the help that the Lakers need in order to put themselves in a better position to contend in the postseason next year. So when Russell Westbrook comes back and he opts into this huge contract that Jeanie Buss has absolutely no control over because it's inked and she agreed to take on the contract when she traded for him, she probably looked at herself in the mirror and just screamed. She could potentially be talking about Kyrie Irving as well. Kyrie Irving had the opportunity before he opted into the contract in Brooklyn to opt out and take a $6.5 million mid-level exception from the Lakers, knowing that in the following season, Jeanie Buss has $80 million available to her that she could pay him, LeBron, and Anthony Davis with. Instead, he opted to take on the $37 million contract, which essentially makes it impossible for her to trade for him without including Russell Westbrook in the deal. And for many of the reasons that we all know, most teams are not jumping at the opportunity to have Russell Westbrook on their roster. So if Jeanie Buss is pointing the finger at anyone, she's pointing at her general frustration with the whole process and the system that's in place in the NBA, or she's pointing the finger at Russell Westbrook and or Kyrie Irving, two players who at various moments in their careers have demonstrated an unwillingness to do what is in the best interest of their own team. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think Jeanie Buss's comments mean, if anything? Should we just take it at face value? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, comment again whether you agree with me or not, and I'm out.